Welcome to this explainer on Niccolo Machiavelli's 16th century treatise, The Prince. Today, we're going to neutrally break down his famous and frankly often shocking rules of statecraft alongside his deeply pragmatic takes on human nature. Whether you're leading a nation or just stepping into a brand new management role, we are going to treat this text like an absolute masterclass in navigating organizational change.
We've carved this sprawling Renaissance classic into 5 distinct areas to really get at the mechanics of power. We'll look at acquiring it, defending it, exercising it through a ruler's actual character, that infamous debate on fear versus love, and finally a workshop on what we call the silo trap.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, Acquiring and Holding States, the True Foundation of Power. Think of this chapter as your ultimate playbook for modern merger integration.
Machiavelli starts by contrasting the absolute ease of ruling a long-established hereditary state with the immense chaos of holding a new one. In a new state, or, a newly acquired corporate department, people are constantly hoping a new boss will improve their lives, which makes the entire environment incredibly volatile.
So, for a ruler taking over a territory with completely different customs, what he calls a mixed principality, Machiavelli gives some highly precise steps. First, move there in person so you can spot trouble early. Second, plant loyal colonies instead of sending in expensive, aggressive military garrisons. And third, keep your neighbors weak. It's really all about being physically present and integrating smoothly.
And man, if you want a perfect example of what not to do, he chronicles how King Louis XII of France made 5 critical errors. He destroyed minor powers, empowered a greater one, brought in foreign powers, and, critically, he didn't settle in the country or send colonies. As a result, he inevitably lost Milan twice. It is a harsh, harsh lesson in failed integration.
Moving right along to Section 2, the danger of mercenaries and how you actually defend these hard-won territories.
Machiavelli firmly advises against relying on mercenaries or auxiliary forces. In fact, he flat out notes that the ruin of Italy was caused by putting all its hopes, for many years, entirely on these hired guns.
The crucial point here is that mercenaries are absolutely disastrous for a prince. Why? Because they're inherently selfish, lacking in true discipline and completely disorganized. They'll act valiant in front of their friends, but put them in an actual battle, they're cowards. They care about their paycheck, not about your cause or risking their lives for your success.
Using this famous biblical metaphor of David rejecting Saul's armor, Machiavelli vividly argues that a true prince must rely on his own arms. Outsource talent or the weapons of others, they'll only weigh you down or bind you fast. You have to build your own dedicated team.
Okay, Section 3, the prince's character, image versus reality. This is where we shift focus to the personal conduct required to actually keep the throne once you have it.
Setting idealized morality completely aside, Machiavelli impartially reports that a ruler must know how to do wrong when necessity dictates. If you strictly follow utopian virtues in a world overflowing with ambitious rivals, you are rapidly going to destroy your state.
Which brings us to a really fascinating paradox about a ruler's reputation when it comes to money and generosity. Counterintuitively, he argues that being overtly generous is a trap. It depletes your resources, which forces you to overtax your subjects, ultimately making you hated. But being mean, or highly frugal, ensures you have the wealth to defend your state without crushing the people, and that is what actually earns long-term respect.
This brings us to Section 4, Feared Better Than Loved. The ultimate choice, and without a doubt, the most fiercely debated calculation in the entire text. Machiavelli poses the ultimate leadership dilemma. If you are absolutely forced to choose just one, which is the safer path to maintaining authority? He delivers a starkly cynical observation of human nature here. He concludes that because people are inherently self-interested, the dread of punishment is a much more reliable bond than the fickle link of love. People will break that bond of love the second it serves their advantage.
But, and this is a massive caveat, you must be feared without becoming hated. Hatred is a total state killer. How do you avoid it? Simply keep your hands off your subjects' property and their families, and only use harsh punishment when you have crystal clear justification.
To really drive this point home, he dryly observes that people will forgive violence much faster than they will ever forgive you for stealing their inheritance. It's a dark but incredibly sharp assessment of material self-interest.
If cruelty or harsh restructuring is absolutely required to stabilize things, Machiavelli advises doing it all at once.
Just rip the Band-Aid off so the pain is tasted less. Meanwhile, benefits and rewards? Hand those out slowly, little by little, to maximize their positive impact over time.
All right, our final section, the silo trap, focusing on internal culture versus micromanagement. Let's officially put on our executive coach hats and run a quick workshop tutorial. We're going to take Machiavelli's advice on fortresses from Chapter 20 and combine it with his rules on new territories from Chapter 3 to mentor you through real organizational change. So, Machiavelli examines whether building literal fortresses is useful. He concludes they only help if you fear your own people more than you fear foreigners. In modern terms, rigid silos, excessive micromanagement, and heavy surveillance are your corporate fortresses. They are a glaring sign that leadership doesn't trust the staff. But as Machiavelli wisely notes, the absolute best fortress is simply a culture where you are not hated by your people.
So how do we replace micromanagement with proactive team empowerment? As a workshop exercise, try the hacker-hire approach. Take a high-stakes project and give it to a former detractor or a newly acquired employee you initially distrusted. They will almost always work twice as hard to prove their loyalty to you. And remember this playful pro tip as a new manager. Your corporate firewall will not save you from an inside job. The best security system in the world is an internal culture where your employees actually want you to win.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder. From integrating new territories to trusting former detractors, does this highly pragmatic, slightly ruthless view of human nature still hold up in our modern era? Or have we finally outgrown the prince? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating text with me. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.